I want you to start today with a silent thinking question. What do we store on our phones, computers and tablets? Do we store the same type of things on each device? And what would these devices be like without storage? We'll discuss these together in class. This lesson is lesson number 4 in our sequence of secondary storage devices. Can you spot any criteria that we might use to evaluate storage devices? Pause the video and try and write them down now. So hopefully you've got the ones that we looked at last week. Durability, reliability, capacity, portability. There are a few others that we haven't mentioned, such as cost. Task number 1. Watch the following video to show how do hard drives work. You've got 2 exam questions to answer. Question number 1. Sean will be using a helmet-mounted action camera to record videos while skiing. The camera records videos onto a flash memory card. Give 2 reasons why flash memory is a suitably storage device for an action camera. And question 2, explain why a magnetic hard disk would be unsuitable storage for an action camera. Please pause the video and complete these questions. Hopefully you've come up with some of these answers. Remember the different criteria that we use to rate storage devices. First of all, if we're looking at flash memory, it could be replaced if damaged. It has fast write speeds. There's a large amount of storage so that the video could run all day to continue recording the video. And also there's no moving parts, so if you fall and injure yourself, then it is unlikely that the storage will be affected. So question number 2, why might a magnetic disk be unsuitable for action cameras? It might break because remember there are moving parts. The head of the hard drive moves over the disk to read it. If that breaks, we're going to break the disk. They're quite often heavy and not portable. They've got a large storage capacity, but probably we don't need to use all that storage. And it's slow read and write, which means that we're going to have a poor quality video. You have 2 videos to watch now. I want you to watch each video and then recommend the storage media for each of the members of staff. You're now going to complete an extended answered question. Here's the scenario. The managing director of a small accountancy firm stores data about the company's clients and their accounts. The managing director only works at the office. He needs to be able to lock the information away at the end of each day in a fireproof box. What characteristics do they need from the storage device? Think about small capacity, its reliability and fast access. What are you going to recommend and why? Please find this page in your workbook. I want you to start by recommending a device. Looking at the black box on the left hand side, I would recommend and explain why you'd recommend it. Then give one of the main advantages of this device. Then link it back to the scenario. This would be an advantage for the MD because, and explain why in context. You might want to do that a couple of times, talking about the advantage and then linking it back to the context. There's also an extended answer at the bottom of this slide. I want us to briefly think about cloud storage. There are 4 questions here. Have a think about these questions in your pairs and then we'll think about what is cloud storage. We need to be careful about the way we think about cloud storage. Cloud storage is not stored in the cloud. However, it is an example of Google Drive. We can save it over the internet, and that's good because we can access it anywhere as long as you've got an internet connection. But is it a type of storage drive? Or is it something else? To try and answer that question, let's have a look at the Google servers. These are the servers that store your data when you're using Google Drive. Here you can see hundreds of banks of servers together, all storing your data. There's no clouds around. So actually, cloud storage is a service where data is stored on remote servers. There are advantages to this because they maintain, manage and back up for you, so you don't have to do any of that yourself. However, that means that actually it's not a drive, it's not a type of storage drive, it is a media. This is because we can actually store it on either HD or solid state. So one of these is still being used to save your data, you're just not saving it on your devices, it's being stored somewhere else. They also deal with security and backups for you, meaning you don't have to worry about anything to do with backing up your data. Now with Google, we all know Google, but out there are lots of companies who might store data for you who you might not have heard of. They might offer large amounts of data storage, but do we trust them? Do we know where the data is being stored? And do we know who has access to that data? If you have an internet connection, obviously you can store that anywhere, which is good. It also makes it cheap for us, cloud storage. At the moment you can get 15 gigabytes for free, but after that you do have to pay for more storage. You might want to watch the last section back and try and answer these questions. Number 1, what is cloud storage? And number 2, how does it work? Number 3, can you give 2 cloud storage providers and then give some pros and cons? In school you do have cloud storage. Let's have a look. We're going to try another exam style question now. Sam is a music student. He needs to take his files to and from the school. Identify a method of storage which is suitable for taking music files into school and explain why this is suitable. Now this is 11 marks. Again, you're going to answer this in a similar way to the one you answered before. Start with I would recommend and make it clear what you're recommending. Give the advantages and then explain the advantages for Sam. You also need a conclusion in this. I want you to self-evaluate your work. Go through it and highlight in your answer using the colours shown on the screen the different criteria. So portability, capacity, reliability, durability and speed. Here is your homework. You're going to be writing an extended essay, but we're going to plan it to start with together. Here's the question. When buying a new desktop PC or laptop, it is important that the correct specification for the uses of the computer are considered. What are the main factors you should consider when purchasing a new desktop PC or laptop to ensure the computer runs fast enough? I want you to find this page in your workbooks and first of all make the keywords in the question bold so you have a clear understanding of the question. Pause the video and complete that now. Secondly, I want you to create a spider diagram of the points you might include in your answer. I've given you a start, CPU speed, primary storage, secondary storage and other. Have a think about what might be included in the other. One of the best ways to start an essay is to initially rewrite the question. Here's my example. In this essay, I will be evaluating the different factors that could affect the speed and performance of a desktop computer or laptop. It's important to choose a computer that meets your needs. You will need a different specification depending on what you want to use the computer for. I now want you to plan out your introduction and then think of it in 4 sections, the 4 sections you planned your essay in. You might want to give an introduction to each section. There are 4 main areas you need to consider when buying a computer. These include CPU speed, RAM, secondary storage and other factors. Let's think about our first part. CPU speed is critical for a high-speed PC and should be one of the first things you consider. This would include, and write your answer. Make sure you make a point, but then evaluate that. Evaluate to explain your reasoning. At the end of your essay, you'll need a conclusion. This needs to be completed for homework.